Kayaaní sa tín kat Johan. Ya yagi gwas ya Táax'aa skasni kada ego daksin. Táax'aa yito sa Táax'aa. Ya skasni kada jiwtuwanei. Ya kun isak shaway. Shakaway du X'éig a kawshakit. Jiwtuwanei aya du X'éig. Kayaaní Nora Marks Downhauer. Táax'aa Kayaaní Robert Zuboff. Angun Kayaaní jiwtuwanei. Pakwe Dísi. Jiwtuwanei ya gosh ya kaya ke uwa wat kahuna. Ya du ish has aya huna kawu chukanedi. Du Táax'aa chukach adi. Ya ach yach aya jiwtuwanei. Shakahit yidach. Qunachu aya jiwtuwanei shakahit. Qunachu. Ya atlein we shukach adi katlipnach adi shkashnik I awe qunachu adach aya ha atlein shkashnik itzu jiwtuwanei. Ya Táax'aa qunnach chichag shkashnik aya we Dísi tan haswuwanei. Gwash qunnach chichag nanya qaqanach adi. Dak qade aya haswutlagat. Tashas te tuaush guun. We an qashaqu klingadani awe shawet a joy dak qade awe haswu art. Ach a shashaki haswutian shashaki. Ya hastu yagu has a kawaduch te. Te aya has a kawachak akaya has a kawaduch hastu yagu. Ye awe ach just we ku adusa hastu in hosatien ke. Haswuwanei. Atlein atkatu adi hastu tuasa guya kirte. Haswuwanei. Kayu ayach hasakawatani hastu yagu. You ayach hasshua hitch. Ya akho adakade. Ach aya ye hawutien. Gosha dank yudu asakastu ani. Atrisha dank to tuasa guun. Wishkashni gaya kain a kautlani. Ye awe ya idat utusaku. X'éig gen gaya ada. We uski a kagachta ak. Just nask wuch itchi khatangi. Kwash chaktakatu han shukwa. Ye yak kwaka. Aka yohan nachtuasaku ye ya yakai. Kusacha kwan.
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 Kus.
Kus. Kus.
Kus.
Kus.
Kus.
Wait.
Wait.
Gwech.
Wait.
Wait.
Gwech.
Kayaaní.
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 Ketch. Táax'aa.
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 X'éig.
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 Atloon.
Awatloon. Akwatloon.
Aquashun.
Quashun.
Yanagut.
Yandagut.
Yanagut.
Wugut.
Wugut.
Gukagut.
Kakut.
Kakut.
Yek yanagut.
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 Yek uwagut.
Yek Uwagut.
Wagut.
Yek gukagut.
Yek Ukakut.
Kakut.
Yek uwagut.
Yek Uwagut.
Wagut.
Yek Wugut.
Wagut.
Akakushi.
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 Akakuwashi.
Akuwashi.
Akakushi.
Akakukwashi.
Akukwashi.
Akakushi.
Ausatin.
Ausitin.
Ausitin.
Ye agursatin.
Ye Aguksatin.
Egostatin.
Ya anasquain.
Ya Anasquain.
Anasquain.
Ausaku.
Ausiku.
Suku.
Agursaku.
Aguksaku.
Suku.
Ascha.
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 Ausacha.
Ausicha.
Ausacha.
Agursacha.
Aguksacha.
Ausacha.
Ashachish.
Shachisht.
Shawachich.
Shawchit.
Shawachich.
Ashakquachich.
Shakwachit.
Ashakbaichich.
Ye naskit.
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 Widzigit.
Ujigit.
Udstigit.
Yek qoskit.
Yekwaskit.
Waskit.
Ach ya anastain.
Ya Anastain.
Understand.
Ach ausata.
Ausita.
Ausita.
Ach agursata.
Aguksata.
Ya anayan.
Ya Anayan.
Ya Anayan.
Ya anayin.
Ya Anayin.
Ya Anayin.
Awaya.
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 Ke akwaya.
Te Akwaya.
Kwaya.
Koskiwe. Sha'a.
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 Ya analkats.
Ya Anaskut.
Ya Analkuts.
Aushikuts.
Auskut.
Alkuts.
Gurlakuts.
Gukshakut.
Agachakuts.
Akat wujachin.
Katwujachin.
Katwujichin.
Akadekuk kwashchin.
Kadesh.
Dekawashin.
Awashat.
Washat.
Awashat.
Ke akwashat.
Washat.
Keakwashat.
Shoot at the ark.
Adaak.
Adaak.
Shoot out the uck.
Shoot out.
Shoot out the uck.
Shoot the aguch the ark.
Shoot the
The
Aak.
aguch the ark.
Akadeya anachut.
Kadeya anachut.
Akadeya anachut.
Kat awachut.
Kat awachut.
Kat awachut.
Akade akwachut.
Akade
Akade
achut.
awachut.
Ashuch.
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 Alshauch.
Ashuch.
Ashuch.
Keagachlauch.
Keagachlauch.
Keagachluch.
Astucht.
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 Ausatach.
Ausatach.
Sitach.
Keagachatach.
Keagachatach.
Keagachsitach.
Jeez. Ja, je denkt gewoon, je zegt toen als ik Dísi achi. Tashluch itani. Ja, je denkt. Ja, dat ka aya ak hawuti. Akaya wuti. Aya hakusti ak watiki. Sayu cha awuts ischa antqini. Qisacha kwan qizati wekao. Kainach ka awatun. Kashyeku good. Du kik du iqaquwashi. Kehu ayatsu kashyeku good. Sheikh Ugud aya ya kiki aya nasqach aya du hunchu hasqaya kunashi. Aya daq ya shank aya ausatini qa aya. Chukhe aya ausaqhu qusakha quan khsati. Ashkhandi ya nagut. Ash shawa khitch away. Qusakha quan shawa shawa khitch with zagid. Adach ausata we gedak kegweis tude. Kle awa ya du hiti atla a yede. We yedak ko awe we yana tuwu. Awa aku ach awa atu dach kewu gudi. Ashkuds ya tek kisani. Atu dach ke gud awa du jit with jachin. We kusacha kon kusi. Aya yich ke uwahan ka nach a. Chutle ka nach a. Yachya yanas nitin awa ashawa hitch. Shoot at the ark ka akata wachut. Waskits ekech sene we kusacha kwan ketlt ige. Aya chach adayan kachtu de shatri awa ausha We kusacha kwan ketlt I awa ausha Kawa jiwtuwanei Táax'aa chusati. A joy Táax'aa chukas tuch. Ye away wuti. Ye ayayande shuk watan. Okay. That was a lot of Tlingit. Thanks for joining us, folks. Any thoughts or questions any of you all have? The intermediate group's been working
I
on
feel
this.
after practicing memorizing this,
What's that?
so after practicing memorizing this, I feel like I can understand it as you speak, as you read through it, without reverting to English in translation.
Yeah, the intermediate crew has done a ton of work with this story. So some of them are memorizing this so that they'll stand. It's a 30-sentence story. It's cut down from probably about a 120-sentence story. And a lot of those sentences are also kind of simplified a bit because Tlingit can get a little bit complicated. So we're trying to sort of pull the complicated parts out a little bit, but not a whole lot. But also, like, as we do this kind of work, the whole idea behind this initiative is to create stepping stone versions of these stories. So you'll have the full version, like that's not going anywhere. And so what we do in intermediate as well is we're going through the full version and like pulling apart everything. Well, not fully pulling it apart, but making sure we understand all the words that are in there. In advance, we're doing the same thing with a story called Duktud, which is also called Strong Man or Dark Skin. And That one is more, it's a more complicated story. So even this is a shorter version. This is a shorter version of a shorter version of a big story. So the full version includes the story of the flood and when all the clans went into the interior. And in the interior that people were living was difficult. At some point the fish stopped running. People started, well then we get to this whole story, which maybe we'll do kind of one line at a time. So maybe what we'll do, just as an exercise, is if I can get someone who wants to read the sentence, and then what we'll do is we'll give those folks in beginning Tlingit a chance to just say any words you recognize. No one's asking you to translate this, and then after we give you folks a chance to say what kinds of words you might recognize, we'll turn over to the intermediate students to faithfully translate it for you. Does anybody want to read this sentence? Sheesh. And do you folks recognize any words?
Ha is our.
Yes. Although in this case, it is an identical ha that is an object pronoun in the verb. So the verb happened to us. Any other words?
I was trying to create a story with the pictures. So I was like, well, Sisyphus was carrying around the mountain and he dropped an anvil when he got bit by a mosquito. Like, I literally made a whole story.
Okay.
Yeah, so I made a visual story in my brain, but I don't think that's what it is.
So the idea behind this was like all of those, there was a whole set with nouns, and then from there it goes just like verbs. And I do need to adjust some of my illustrations because they just need some adjustments. But the whole idea is like to front load a whole bunch of verbs and then to start going through the story because they're all in the story. It doesn't take every verb and noun, but it takes a whole bunch just to sort of highlight them and give you visuals, and then to move through the story. So can someone from intermediate Tlingit translate this line? Or how about, anyone.
Yonder in the inland, we existed there. We resided.
Yeah, what? We were living in the interior. Can I get someone to read the second line? Sheesh. Those of you in beginning Tlingit, any words you recognize. Guesses are wonderful and encouraged.
Well, he said ha was our, but you're saying it was us in this context?
This one is back to our.
Oh. Tricky.
He was just like predicting the future. So yeah,
well, I was living in the past, so.
Yeah. Do we know Hakusti? Is that familiar at all?
Is that our way of life?
Yes, our way of life, right? So it's right there. And then we have Táax'aa, and then we have Ach. Someone from intermediates, help us out and translate it.
Way of life is very hard there.
Our way of life.
Our life was difficult there.
Yeah. Can I get a reader for the third sentence?
Watikisayu cha'awuch isha ankini.
Sheesh. And those of you in beginning Tlingit, any words you recognize? It's okay if there's not.
Ours.
What's that?
Wooch.
Wooch.
Ours.
And what is wooch again?
Ours.
It's to each other. To each other.
You didn't let me spit that one out.
Ah! More chances coming.
So the word for just?
Yes.
Is there maybe there's a verb root that end on That is land or
Village
village?
at sitting, which is the villagers. So the people of the village were Wuch Ischa. And we had Ascha earlier way back in the pictures. So maybe, okay, well, this is slide 37. Let's test this. There's Ascha, which is similar. And then we go back to, so now we have Wuch Ischa. Okay, intermediate, somebody translate this for us.
There was food or there wasn't food?
A potluck.
Well, wait. So
That was a total guess.
So this ascha verb means to eat things in little bites. And usually different kinds of things. Wooch is to do something to each other. The villagers wooch, you could say wooch has ascha. It would be a longer way to say it.
Fed each other?
Not quite.
Ate each other?
They ate each other. Yes, okay. Want, eat, sayu. Okay, someone in intermediate translate the whole thing for us.
Did we do that?
It happened. We did not eat. That's why this story is it was so bad and hard that people ate each other. And maybe we'll leave off there because I see Táax'aa. That's a rhyme. So there's cheesh, ha'in chiyah.
Let's get into this.
Okay,
Let's get a little controversial now.
here we go. It was so hard that people ate each other. They were cannibals at that time. One man went hunting.
Oh my goodness.
He didn't come back down. His younger brother went for him. He didn't come back down either. When he didn't come back down, the youngest one was crying as he was searching for his older brothers. Inland between the mountains, he sees this person he saw. He immediately knew it was a cannibal. It was coming towards him. It struck him on the head. The cannibal struck him on the head. He fell. It picked him up from there, that young man, and put him into his sack. And then it packed him back to where its house was standing. But the young man was inside a pack. He is trying to get out of it. He is breaking these little strings. When he got out, the cannibal's club fell into his hands. He waited where it was going to come out. Just then, the area outside of it, when he saw it sticking its head out, he clubbed it on the head. He builds a fire, then he dragged it onto it. What more can I do to the cannibal's ashes? And while he couldn't make up his mind, he blew on them. He blew on the cannibal's ashes. They went into the air and became mosquitoes. That's why mosquitoes bite people. That's what happened. This is how this one will end. Yeah,
No matter what going on.
Where does the anvil come in?
It's for something heavy to pull.
I thought they were going to forge an anvil from the ashes. I was like, oh, I'm totally invested.
Language loves categories. So I was like, how do I draw for something heavy?
I was waiting for the anvil.
This is your 30-sentence version that y'all be memorizing. Or doing a dialogue. It's the people's choice. Yeah, we'll do it.
I think it might be in the intermediate, so
Yeah,
classroom.
I don't know.
So,
Over people left.
Su quasatin.
X'éig was
Su quasatin.
jiwtuwanei.
You guys got some extra practice. How lucky.
Is it the wait? Jiwtuwanei.
That's not.
Is the 30 cents thing in intermediate? Click it.
Oh, I will send you guys it is. It's under like, let me send you folks a couple of things.
Oh,
Oh, whoops, not that.
Kayaaní.
Jeez. Let me put in the chat.
What's Kayaaní?
Oh, no, not.
Kayaaní.
What? Wasai kuwat. What's it? Draft version. Okay, so let me put.
Is jiwtuwanei.
Almost ready. Almost ready.
Ay,
So in the chat, there's the 30-sentence version of Táax'aa. I will be making a clean, just a PDF version of it that I'll send out that doesn't have all the pictures and stuff. That's more condensed and that maybe a little bit easier to practice with. Again, you have an option. You can do the 30-second version of the story,
30 seconds.
or you can do a 20-sentence dialogue. So it's totally up to you, whichever one you would like to do.
And it's just to remember the story and say it.
What's that?
It's to remember the story and say it.
It's to recite it as much as you can from memory. If you have to look down on the paper, you can. Okay. So this is where we left off. What might I possibly do to the ashes? We also were looking at this word yankach, which is really interesting. I do think it's like not fully documented, and I do think it means some state of completion, but also true. There's someone who has a name, Yankach, and I think she translates that name, if I remember right, as a true mother. So there's something about Yankach, and it appears as Yankach, and it appears also as Yankat. So it does seem to be a contraction, if you ask me, of Yun, which means the shore or to completion, and Ka, which is on. So I would say Yankach literally is repeatedly or moving around on the shore. Yankat is arriving at the shore, and Yankach is residing on the shore. But it's also the shore coming from the ocean. So another fun thing from the ancestors.
And you covered that in advance too yesterday and found the little note from Lear.
Yeah, there's a note from Lear and there's a note from James Crippen in another text. I'm going to bump this down to here. And if I can get someone to read this line, please.
Yankach to the X'éig away X'éig. We kusachakwana eight away X'éig.
Goodness, geez. So, do we know what all of these words are?
When he couldn't come to his conclusion.
Yeah, so
well, actually, I have it in front of me. I translated it.
yeah. Well, to the shut is for something like literally for something to grab your mind, I think is what it really sort of literally translates to. Depending on the use, it could mean to suddenly have a realization or an idea. Or like this time of year, one qanins yatak ite khatu deshat gwash suk jiwtuwanei hastujite gachtuti or kukwati. Sometimes I have this sudden thought, maybe I will give them more work. So I'm always like, something about the springtime and the semester ending, because summer's coming, I'm always like, I need to give the language students more and more and more and more work. But then I just resist that urge. Theoretically. I believe I resist the urge. And there's a couple things we have. So earlier we had up here, Kesh a dog yankach to the shut. He never really made up his mind. So with the cha in front of it, like kind of just, but it depends, like it's a particle, so it gets influenced by whatever comes after it in terms of how the meaning works. But this all combined is when he could not make up his mind. So in this case, you have X'éig contracting just to the letter L, which does happen sometimes. It's not the most common thing, but it does happen. So I would say this starts as when, or just when he could not make up his mind. And then we have Táax'aa, which is what?
They blew on it.
He blew on it.
Wekasachapon eti away Táax'aa.
That cannibal's ashes.
He blew on the cannibal's ashes.
Can I get someone to read it? Oh, we're almost at the end.
Kayaaní, jiwtuwanei, Táax'aa,
Gonna cheesh. Do we know all these words in here? Kayaaní.
that cannibal ashes that bow.
Kawa,
Up into the air.
Kawayik is off into space.
Yeah.
And then we have at,
I
kind of.
thought Kude was up into space.
That what?
I thought Kude was up into space.
I read them.
Kude is into oblivion.
Oh, okay.
And so Kayaaní is like into thin air, it depends on how it's being used. Because you could say kind of just into the air. It's like, I guess you could say into the air. I don't know.
I mean, I'm not arguing with you.
But just like, and then you could say, like they'll say sometimes, so we don't want your words to echo off into space. And so you would give some sort of response. What about the jiwtuwanei part?
They did it.
Was that?
They did it.
Not quite.
It happened.
It happened.
Oh, yeah.
Right, so X'éig would be the did it version of this. Wune happened, X'éig, they did it. Trying to stay out of the light here. And then we have Táax'aa.
It became mosquitoes.
They became mosquitoes.
Yeah, oh wow. Is there an E on mosquitoes? No? Only in tomatoes and potatoes?
Like, no mosquitoes, but now like canned tomatoes.
X'éig.
Fine. So Táax'aa is the perfective form. Táax'aa. Right? So when you say wusati, sometimes you're saying was that, but oftentimes you're saying became that. Okay. Somebody read it.
Achawe taha satahi le kuti Yahweh you kusinik chu kusaha konk awe seti yisu.
Oh, geez. Oops. Okay. Achawe Táax'aa.
That's why mosquitoes.
Who was
Bite people.
Or I guess there's a little bit more to it than that. Because biting people, you would have who sa took. That would be they are biting people right now. And then you'd have who sitang. I think. No.
So is the I at the end a relational that makes it when they bite people?
Yes. And so that's why this looks, because you'd say, so just in terms of like looking at how these work and how we would translate them. They are biting people. Kusatag, they bit people. And then you'd have Kesh Kus Tag. They didn't bite people. And again, just continuing to show, take a negative perfective, put that suffix on there, and now you have the subordinate form, which is that or when. That's why mosquitoes, when they bite people, we'll do this one phrase at a time. Chutle kudziyach awe yukusanik.
I had a real hard time with this, but was Kudzi, I came up with amazing.
I just got amazingly.
Yeah, just then amazing. Like yukusanik.
I got they do or they try.
It happens to people.
They do it to people. So ausane, so coming back to wune, so wune is for something to happen. There's only an object on there. And you can have unique, I guess. Unique, that's it, unique would be it happens regularly. And here you do have, and that should probably be a low tone. Yakusanek would be, they regularly do that to people. So kusane would be the perfective form of this. This is the repetitive form, which is a bit advanced, but yukusanek. So it's like, there is something about this kudziyach, like it's like something amazing. And I guess maybe powerful, something powerful happens when they do that to people. Which is a really interesting way to say it.
Because they're still the cannibal.
They are still the cannibal. There's no real because in there, but it is sort of hinting at that, right? And then the ch. So this ch is partnered up with Yesu. But there's a really, this is a, if you say ch Yesu verb, you get just now verbed. Right. I'm gonna say verbed because it's usually you're gonna get like, so like the verb just recently happened. It just now happened. So that's where Yesu. But if you have verbed Yesu, you end up with still verbing. I guess you usually get some, I don't know. But you'd say, Wushjin Tishat Yesu. We're still holding each other's hands. And then you'd say, Yesu, Wushjin Tishat. We just now grabbed each other's hands. Okay. I feel like he's going to take us on another ride. Can somebody read this one?
So you
Go ahead.
okay. So you awu dla ku awe du tuasigu ya ka shei ka tu ke akau jadli.
Sheesh. So when we have this, which we're going to have sometimes, it's Hugh.
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 That sounds like an EW.
Yeah. Tlingit just has no mercy for the learners. Like, oh, why don't we say Hugh awudaku? So Hugh awudaku. Okay. Anybody have any luck with this one? Any predictions?
I got no way they can try.
Okay.
However, they couldn't try. I got.
So the verb root for try is going to be a. The verb root we have here is block.
I thought that was a classifier.
It sure looks like one, but there would have to be an I on it. Unless, again, advanced Tlingit, we're just encountering like true Hainyak Tlingit will drop the letter I in a classifier. Sometimes. I don't know why, but then the classifier would just be the letter TL. But we're not ready for that. This is a na. The classifier here is ya. So what we have here, if we have U in front and we have a K at the end, we have this thing like, for example, this is a good example of this one. U, Kaya, Tunk. They are speaking. So the U pops up and the letter K comes at the end. And this is what we call a repetitive form of the verb. It happens regularly. We just saw it up here with jiwtuwanei. So what we see is when high fluency speakers are telling stories, they really like some of these big fancy things. So we're going to go look in the dictionary for some other hue things just to see if there's other type of similar things that do pop up. So we're going for the L's, and then I think we got to go up at the beginning. So here's a couple. So jiwtuwanei. It's someone who can't talk. Like they just literally, like they have a physical condition where they cannot talk. So here you have well, usually you'd have jiwtuwanei. But now you have jiwtuwanei. So there's a couple things that go on here. One is we can kind of learn how to put this mode together. And what this mode shows us. Okay, I need a notes document, so hold on a second. So Robert Zuboff couldn't let us just get out of this story without some pretty intense brain work here, so we'll step up and do it again. So there's a couple things that we have here. And this is for na conjugation verbs. So we pay attention to the theme, and the theme, if we look at these things, like for example, we'll go to the themes, we'll go look up glock, and we'll just see some things about this verb. This is the verb that we're looking at. I'm gonna copy all of this, paste it into here. I want to keep that formatting, but not be so tiny. So now I gotta do this. Okay. So here's our verb. In terms of all the stuff that it's telling us, just to sort of recap on a theme. Oh, there's an object in this verb. It has to be there. We have to remember that it's there. Ya, pink, it's the thematic prefix. It means like the face of something or a vertical surface. A red capital S, there is a subject in here. Both a subject and an object. This is a transitive verb. Transitive means there is an object and a subject. You got to remember that they're there. It's a zero group classifier, so it's going to be ya when it happens and zero when it in most other modes. Tlaq is our verb root. We notice there's no high tone mark on here, there's no little h, there's no little x up here. So this is a closed verb, which means it behaves exactly how we think it should be. It should be long and low in the perfective, long and low in the command. It'll be long and high in the future, long and low in the negative future. So we should know, we can say, Tlaq. That's how you would command someone to succeed. Or get it, obtain it. Guk Tlaq way. So you could tell the little hobbit to go get the ring. Get it. You could say Yahwatlaq, Yiyitlaq, Yayitlaq, Yautuatlaq. And you can conjugate it in those different ways. It is na conjugation, so that's why you'd know to say ya, na, tlaq for a command. It's an event verb, so we know there's no imperfective. But there's something special about these na conjugation verbs to talk about it happening regularly. You're going to have you, then you have ya, and tlaq, and that, and then you're going to have a K on it. So this would be, well, in this case, like if you want to have a third person, you would say you, ya, tlaq.
Yeah.
They get it. They regularly win. They regularly obtain it. They regularly succeed. It's kind of an unusual form. But if we go in to here, I can show you some examples. So let's see. To tell information. So neek. So here's this verb. So you could say akanik, they're telling about it. You could say akawanik, they told about it. And you could say akakwanik, they will tell about it. And you can say you akanik, they regularly tell about it. This is an advanced verb mode. I don't really recommend, look it up if you're going to use it. Maybe start to recognize it. But I wouldn't say, put this in your conversations that you're writing right now. But it means it happens on a regular basis. If it's na conjugation, you are probably going to have you in front of it and then a K at the end. So that is what we have here. And I guess some of them are high. Okay. So coming back, what he's got us doing is if we pull this apart in terms of how it's working, you have X'éig, you, woo, tlaq, with a K.
Where does the W come from?
I don't really know.
Okay, cool. I'm okay with that.
What I think a lot, if you listen to Robert Zuboff, a lot of times when he has any sort of underlying K or X or G, you're going to hear a W on the other side of it. Like almost every time. But there could be something here where putting a K on there, underlying K to K, is probably too hard to do. And so that W sound just realizes. Because you could go, but it's hard to go without a pause. So you go, probably.
Oh, that makes sense.
And then that causes the N to be a U. So when you have jiwtuwanei, you have, so jiwtuwanei. These are also kind of rare. So to put it into this form, so to put it in the positive, I don't know if I've ever seen this, but I think you'd have you, aya, you, aya, which would be they succeed regularly. I've never heard anybody say it. I'd probably want to get a speaker to say it because you have ya and ya right there because it's plus I. But when you have, so they succeed, and then you kind of have they never succeed or they don't succeed. The negative version of this is the closest thing that I think it has to it never happens. They don't talk to me, right? And that means it does not happen and it's a repetitive type of thing. So, because that's not enough, you can contract the letter L and you can get to Q, and then we can grab this and add this. When he, I guess what was Q, when it does not succeed. Just one. I think what he's saying here is tied to this next thing. So let's get the rest of this and then we'll come back to this and put it all together. What did you folks come up with for that?
They like human blood.
It wants to take up a person's blood.
Yes, so want, comma, human blood. Because it could be like, but then it's linked to this upcoming verb.
Inside the human.
From a person's inside.
From inside people. Kayaaní.
Take up, carry up.
And this J is a carrying verb for saying like all of one type of thing. Usually, sometimes in multiple trips. But so I'd be like, get all the chairs out of here. That would be J. I would use a kawa J if I wanted all of these chairs out of here. So all of one type of something. So basically, whenever it does not succeed, when it does not succeed, they want to suck out the blood, all of the blood from a person. Which is what, there's a lot going on here. But I think what he's coming back to is basically saying, because this cannibal didn't kill that boy, now it is sucking the blood out of everybody, out of people. How's everybody doing? Want to take a little break?
The in-person class and yourself has been invited next door to grab food.
Oh, okay. Let's take 5 and we'll come back and I think we'll get to the end. Maybe, we'll see. Cheese. Okay, welcome back. We had a longer break than usual. There's a question here, which was about for example, John. So a kaushikit. So this is, they wrote it, they drew it. Take a picture of it. So this is what the verb looks like, is a kaushikit. But if you put John right in front of it, usually what's going to happen is this is going to switch back to a 0 for some reason. So then you'd say John kaushikit. But yeah, that CH can go in front of it tomorrow. Okay. We are nearing the end. Can somebody read this shorty? Sheesh. And what do we have for a translation for that?
That's how it is.
Well, that is how it was. Because the wuti part. Read this one?
Dikiankau.
Dikiankau ya Xingit ani al X'éig.
Jeez. And what did we come up with for that?
The noble above on this of this world. Yeah.
The Lord above made the world.
The land something?
The world.
They made it.
Right, so yeah. Dakian Kau, just for our knowing, is the Christian God. That's how we talk about it in Tlingit. Hashagenya is the older word for the creator. Some people use them interchangeably. Some people prefer one or the other. You'll notice if you study Zuboff and his storytelling, he ties Christianity into the stories a lot in really interesting ways. And here's one example of how he does it.
It's interesting they made that two lines. Seems like it could be one.
Yeah, like you could either put it right there. But usually when the Dauenhauers did line breaks, that makes me think if you listen to it, it probably goes Dakian Kau Kayaaní. So there's a little pause there. So both Nora and Richard loved poetry. They loved to read it. They loved to write it. So when they did line breaks, it was usually associated with how the speaker is talking. But if you were to sort of reprint this, I would make that just one sentence. Or I would put this down here, just for clarity in terms of seeing how the language is working. For the reprint, for the 30-sentence version that's going to be illustrated and animated, everything we'll treat the line breaks differently based on this, how we want people to read it. And I get a reader for this one.
Konachau Sikhan.
How do we translate?
Very our stand. Oh, you'll love.
He loves us very much.
guess I would probably combine these. And this one, I'm going to read this one.
Ya Kayaaní Kayaaní.
Okay. And I would probably ignore this part, perhaps. It might be what we call a false start, where he started to say something and then he switched it to something else. What is X'éig Kayaaní? World.
There.
Think it land.
Well, it's the world. When you have Kayaaní as two words, that's Tlingit villages or Tlingit land. Kayaaní with the apostrophe as one word is the world. So what is the Kayaaní part?
I thought it might be related to Yeti. So it'd be like from the surface of the world, or maybe something like that.
Huh?
I got on it. So he really loved us in the world, or on the world.
Yeah, he really
Here
loved
on the
us.
world.
The things on the world. Okay. Did you read this?
Ya Kayaaní aya X'éig.
And the bottom one?
Ya Táax'aa.
Okay. So whenever you have just a W here, what's going to happen? These are going to run together. X'éig. So it's X'éig. But it's two. And this is where we got to really train our ears so it doesn't sound like X'éig. Which is, if you, I guess to just sort of say what would these things sound like if you had them, you would have X'éig as opposed to X'éig. So X'éig. So the tone stays up and then goes down and then back up. And what do we have here in terms of
Huatatuke, or translate here.
Kayaaní? Translate.
It was just a world that created the mosquito.
Want to read this one?
Aya ye adat shkachni kudziti aye ti aya Tesla.
It's cheese.
Huatatu?
Kukwatu.
Huatu. I just need to get my conjugations better. Then I'll just.
And
keep
the
zooming.
D pops in there to just say read. Like Kukwatu, I'm going to go read. Doesn't matter what you're reading. It's all about the action. If you say Kukwatu, I'm going to read it.
Masuya kuchida.
Esh chosaka. Okay. Ach'aya. We got there.
Because of this.
Adat shkashnik.
They tell about it.
Well, shkashnik is a noun. It's a verbal noun.
The stories about it.
A story about it. Putzati
Exist.
exists. Ayeti aya Teslin.
When they were living in Tesla.
When they are in Tesla, which is a place called Dísi. It's the Tlingit name for it.
Is the word for lake, is that low tone AA?
Nope, it's high. But I am going to put capital on that. And I'm going to go, okay. Can somebody read this?
Tlain duan aya ya caribou cross. You do a sak ya at kutu adi anach na adia.
Sheesh. Okay. Ya atlain to one aya. What do we got there?
This big lake.
By this big lake.
It's next to this big lake.
I'll do, yeah, I could do that one for you. Caribou Cross, which is Natasihin. Or Natasahini. You do a song.
They call it.
Hold it.
It is called, or people call it. Yeah, and so when we're not gonna you ya atketu adi anachna adiya.
I have the place where the animals go through.
Yes.
Chatsu.
So when we have yeah, and there's no ade in front of it, that's usually talking about the place where that verb happens. Atkatu adi are animals, usually land animals, forest animals specifically. Anach is along it or across it. Na'ati, they walk. So in this case, ya atkatu ati anach na'ati, yeah, the place where the animals go across it. Oh, I guess we just had this one. Can somebody read it? There's so few of us, just read it.
Aya ye do a sak Teslin.
Sheesh. I don't know what that is there for.
Yeah, it's a little near to it.
I got it's right near it.
Chunk. It sounds cute, whatever it is.
Aya shaya dahini. Dahini.
Should get the hain. And then the next one.
Ashayadihin.
So yeah, should get the hain.
Be many.
Many. Ha should get the hain.
Be many.
We are many.
That position, still we are here.
Natu shukwa singit
Oh, Chade Ichano. Ach Cha Yesu Aye Hayati.
Let's see, this is Chayesu. So this is being used in this way, but I'm still not solid on this theory where Yesu before and Yesu. I don't know. Because you could interpret that as we just got there. But I think it means Ach Chayesu Aye Hayati. We are still there. Oh, look, we're so close. Good.
Hakinak yuha ka'ash. Okay, yeah, I gotta work on that one.
Okay. Ha Kainach yuhas chasha'at. There's a lot of sounds crunched in there. Here's one of these UK things, just like we talked about, right? Ha Kainach yuhas chasha'at. What would that translate to? Do we get how it works?
In our language, they speak repeatedly.
Yuhas chasha'at. They are conversing. So in other words, they speak our language. So ha chenach is really interesting because we've heard this before, like Shingit chenach, like ha chenach, German chenach, Norwegian chenach. But you could also say ha chenach, our language. And you could also say chush chenach. Achtu yekechesh chenach yuchachwatani. I feel good speaking my own language. Geesh, what do we got for that?
This, thus to the end, I will end.
Is how this one is going to end. So Yunde Shakwatan, it's gonna end, it's gonna close. Yunde Shakwatan. That's a good way to close a story. Like this, it's just a really great classic way to end a story. Ya yidat, ya adyet kitin, shkak koslenik tleit ka keinach.
Wanachsa
And now,
Dech'aa.
Echa.
Dech'aa.
Oh, when you have ya yidat, it just goes long, like ya yigi. It just tends, for those two, it just tends to go long. Because ya and ya are interchangeable. Ya, we, he, you. It doesn't change the meaning at all. But for whatever reason, whenever you go ya yidat and ya yigi, ya sit go salam, it just tends to go long in those cases. And how do we translate ya yidat?
and now,
Now,
Right now. So yidat is now, ya yidat is right now. Yagi is a day, ya yagi is today. Ya adget kitin.
with the children.
Shkak pashanik.
tell stories.
I will tell stories. Gleifcha chinach.
In English.
We did it!
Okay!
We did it! Everybody go home early. Go to Cheese Plain. We have reached the end of Táax'aa. Shah Dog took us for one heck of a ride. He's like, I'll go give them the easy stuff. You guys had the hard stuff. Great work, everybody. Good cheese. We'll see you folks next week for the grand finale of Intermediate Shengit Day.
Is next week when we're doing the recitation?
No,
No.
Okay,
the week after.
you have sentences.
Yeah, you have 10 sentences to translate. Don't forget, translate your sentence.
Okay, so we still have,
We still have 2 classes left. We'll have lots of fun.
Alright.
We'll answer every question you have. Good job.
I'll tell you.